Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. We're still here with a little, I don't know, make along with me, I guess. A little craft along with me, I guess. I don't really have a plan per se. I mean, I have a goal, which is to use up this sheet of stickers, which is from Sticky Club. You guys can see if it focuses. No? There we go. It's a bunch of birds and a rabbit. One rabbit, a bunch of birds. Yeah, it's a cute little stamp set. I thought it would be easy to utilize. Hi, Nico. Only when I start recording, I swear. And then I have some book pages. This is a toilet. It's nautical stuff is what I was going to say. But there was also a toilet involved. I don't think I'm going to use up all of these. I have a hank of them. But I also have a little bit of cardstock because I want some structure to whatever I make. And I don't want to have to double, triple, quadruple up on book pages because this is actually really, really thin book page. So I'd have to like quadruple it to get like something with some body. And I don't want to do that. So we're going to use the cardstock and we're going to make some stuff. I don't know if this is the only sheet of cardstock we're going to use, but you know. That general vibe. I have a glue stick, which is probably almost out. So I'm going to get another one ready to go. I'm just going to slap some stuff down, put some stuff together. Nothing revolutionary, like I said. I'm just not going to use a toilet. But I just want to use up some stickers and some book page and make some stuff. So maybe if you want to like grab your things, you can make along with me. And we could just have like a cool little crafty hangout session and do some stuff with book page. Sorry, allergies are going to be wicked because in Texas here we had a bunch of rains, a bunch of flooding. I am not in the flood zone particularly, so that was lucky. Although I do live close to a creek that will flood my street. Oh, look how it's just slightly smaller than the page. That's weird. It's okay. So yeah, I live near a creek that does flood, but I don't go outside, especially when it rains, so I was not in any danger or anything like that, but it is pretty crazy. Last year there was a tragedy from the flood, so I think everybody was kind of like holding their breath, waiting to see like what would happen this year, and there were some tragedies this year too, which is really sad and unfortunate. There was a man who was asleep in his trailer home when the flood came and washed away the entire trailer. This is really sad, guys, so I'm gonna move on quickly, but it is something I have been thinking about because it is just really tragic. And I think the saddest part is that his wife is still alive. She was actually visiting family, I believe, in Dallas when it happened, so like, you know, if she hadn't been there, she would have been asleep in that trailer and washed away with him. And I can only imagine what she's going through. Like, my heart really goes out to her. It's kind of crazy, but it all has to do with just like water levels and stuff like that. Like just rising. I don't know if I want to use these bow images. I'm sorry. There we go. That's the thought. But yeah, it just has to do with like how the water levels are, and then how the river rises and how crazy this stuff can be. And I think that was like a lot of the things, a lot of the lessons they learned from last year, they managed to sort of improve on, so that we didn't have a repeat of what happened last year, which was where a lot of summer camps got swept away and a lot of kids died, unfortunately. Because they were just too close to the river for there to be anything to be done for it. It was too late, and there weren't enough adults available. It was a bunch of teenagers who did step up and save a bunch of kids, but you can only save so many in those kind of situations. So they learned a lot of lessons from that last year, and thankfully the summer camps weren't full this year. They weren't close to the water, anything like that. You know, like they learned the lessons, and we were able to avoid a repeat of last year's tragedies. But it's just so unpredictable. And then even worse, because the deaths that did happen happened at night when you aren't necessarily prepared for floodwaters to come rushing through, or you can't see where they're coming from. And so it's just been kind of crazy. It's sort of a somber time, even though like it's one of those double-edged swords, because like in Texas we really need the water, we really need the rain, especially because it brought some relief from the heat for a few days, which was really a blessing, because it's like, you know, it's been nearly 100 degrees for the last couple weeks, and just being able to like have your air conditioner be at the temperature you would like it to be at is honestly such a blessing, because it's so hot that you know, your air conditioner can only do so much, and some people are still getting really sick and stuff from the heat, despite having climate controlled homes, you know, and central air and stuff like that. And so yeah, like the cooler weather and the water that we needed for the land is like a plus, but then, like, you know, it comes with a lot of risk and things like that involved, and I'm beginning to think this glue just doesn't stick stuff, because what was the point? But all of the sad things I just said aside, now that the rain is gone, I get to have all of the allergic reaction to everything rain makes. So it's such a weird sort of thing, and it's like one of those things I have to look at the map and decide where I'm going to go live, because Texas is not it. You guys know that Texas is actively trying to murder me. Do I want to do the back too, so that it's book page on all sides? Might as well, right? Yeah? Since the whole goal is to use up this paper. And we'll just start piecing paper together, I guess. But like, yeah, I have to like sort of choose. Do I want to be someplace hot but dusty because I'm allergic to dust? Do I want to be someplace that's cooler? But like, it can't be too cold, because too cold also triggers my asthma. Or do I want to be someplace that's like wetter, because that would be better for like my overall lung health quality? But then, you know, if it's a place that has a bunch of like mildew and mold, then I am also allergic to that. So like, there's just no winning in this game called allergy for me, and I'm beginning to think I'm just not meant to live on this earth anymore. And so I would like to find a hypoallergenic planet to like fuck off to, because this ain't it. Texas ain't it, that's for sure. I didn't really plan to make it like freaking paper style, but I just want to use it. So yeah, like this whole conversation was to tell you guys that I am going to sound froggy in the video, because I am suffering from allergies, and not to bum you out with the consequences of floodwaters. So apologies. What else is going on? What else could I talk about after that? I don't even know. What a random thing to just suddenly bring up. I guess because it's just been in my mind, you know? And I am, I guess, relieved that we didn't have a repeat of last year's tragedy, because if we had, that would be, like, heads would probably roll for sure, because people would need to be held accountable for shenanigans. But also, it would just be like one of those things, like, how could we let it happen again? And are we always doomed to repeat history when it happens? And before I, like, go down that rabbit hole and end up in my political soapbox, I'm gonna change topics. But if you were ever curious about what my politics are, follow me on Instagram, because I am very loud and open and proud about my politics over there. I try not to do it so much on my YouTube, just little tiny hits and bits there, so you guys kind of get a read of like what my vibe is. But mostly because of the algorithm, and it will be algorithming if I am too like overt with my feelings, which seems like shenanigans. But I have shenaned once, and I shall shenan again. So, you know, 'tis what it is. But, I I don't know what the point of this is. Oh, the point of this is if you were ever curious as to where I stand politically, you can go check out my Instagram because I don't care about that algorithm whatsoever. Mostly because I just hate cross-posting and have let my Instagram sort of go by the wayside and just sort of become a place to like follow my favorite people and share art and stuff like that. So it's become less of a business Instagram and more of a personal Instagram, but I still run my business through it. So maybe, I don't know. I have really no thoughts about it. I think in that regard, the Instagram algorithm is so cooked because they decided to chase the TikTok model as opposed to the photo app model, which is what it was. And honestly, I think they would have been better off taking whatever their thing is called, the meta thing is called, Threads, and chasing the TikTok model, not the TikTok, the Twitter model on Instagram, because it's also a picture app on Twitter. You know, like people post photos and then leave their tweets about it. Kind of like just that square. I know I said I didn't want to use the boats, but the boats have become a key player now. Yeah, so I think they would have had more success chasing the Twitter model than chasing the TikTok model. But I don't know, maybe that's because I'm not on TikTok anymore, so I don't really follow what's going on over there. Although I still have the account, I just haven't been on it. I knew there was a big old chunk on here. I just finished like the second tagmatic video and then just jumped right into this. So everything is a mess. My fingers are a travesty. It is what it is, but I was like, I just want to make stuff. So I didn't even do what I usually do, which is clean up in between videos. I was like, no, just jump right into it. So here we are, where I have nothing to do but ramble. I know some of you guys are probably like, what do your politics have to do with anything? Like, we're just here to see your crafts and stuff. And I think everything is political. And I like to align myself with people who have empathy and are cool people. And I don't necessarily believe that everyone's politics have to match up one for one, but I do think, like, I kind of want to know, you know? Like, I want to know what people are about and what they stand for, and, like, if that's somebody I want to support, you know, with my viewership and stuff like that. And I know that, like, yeah, not everyone's going to agree on everything. I don't expect everyone to agree on everything. I don't expect everyone's, like, political views to line up, like, one for one. But I do think it tells you a lot about a person, what they value and where their politics lie. But also, it kind of gives you a read on whether or not this person is a safe person for you if, you know, their values line up with what you have going on. And I find that in this, like, weird hellscape that we have sort of ventured into, seemingly against our wills, because I don't even understand how we got here, knowing that the people I'm associating with are a safe place because their views politically line up with mine, makes it a lot easier to sort of interact in a social space like this, where I can be like, okay, like, this person's gonna care about my well-being as much as their own well-being, as opposed to doing something that would be, like, diametrically opposed to what I'm doing, or my existence. And yeah, I just feel like there's safety in numbers, so finding people who sort of sync up with you like that makes it easier to find and build community and find places that are safe for you. And I guess, like, yeah, that's the point of this whole rant, is that I hope that if you are wondering, you know where to find it, and then if you find it and it matches your values, you hang around and know that, like, I have your back at the end of the day, because, like, that's kind of, you know, the way that you build community. You have to have that trust in other people so that you can depend on them. I really, like, are these glues, like, old, or am I just slow? It could be just that I'm very slow at putting this stuff down. Getting to feel like it isn't me. It doesn't even matter. I'm being very, very, very precious with something I don't necessarily think needs to be this precious. I haven't been watching a lot of movies lately, so I went to go watch the Odyssey in theaters just this morning. I have thoughts and feelings about it. I don't know if it's going to become a major rant or not, so I don't even know if I want to, like, bridge the topic. But I watched Troy last night because I was like, well, Troy is technically not in actuality in the regards of, like, the film industry, but in story history, the prequel to the Odyssey, the Trojan War is. So I was like, well, let me watch this and get my brain into that. And I don't even know how I feel about it. I feel like this paper is so crooked. And I don't know if I was the one who made it crookeder. See? Look at that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're gonna chop it down and make some stuff. I'm gonna sip this cup of coffee I didn't really actually need, but I have. Okay. Where's my stickers? Oh, they're back here. Okay, what are we gonna make? Maybe like a little pocket, some little cards. I don't know, paperclip maybe? I didn't really have a plan, you guys. So sorry. Let's chop some stuff. First we're gonna spider check. Use your eyeballs too, just in case. And then we're gonna get in here and start chopping. I do just really feel like this is the most crooked a piece of paper has ever been. Which, I don't know why. 8.5. Okay. Yeah, definitely is. And it still isn't perfectly lined up, but that is, emotionally, I feel better. So, I'm gonna cut a big strip off the side. I'll do like a 4-inch strip. We're gonna make a big old pocket. And then let's cut, I don't know, how much do we have? A little over 7 inches here, this away. Cut it to 7 in the hopes that that evens it out finally. And we've got 8.5. Let's cut like 2 inches. So I guess this one. Maybe another 2 inches. That's 6.5. 4.5. I'll give this 2. And then 3.5 by 4.5. So that'll be 2 big cards. Let's see. Or maybe we'll make 1 card and then turn this into something else. I want to cut these in half. 7, so 3.5. And actually, I'm not gonna cut this in half, I'm gonna fold it in half. And we'll make like a double tag situation. So, if you were my scoreboard, you would know where I could actually, oh, you're on my desk. Buried in all of the recent stuff from projects recently, and those projects mainly being the Tagmatic, because that's all I've been working on. Ooh, I have to open this. Oh my gosh, I buried it. Okay, that's a video. Coming soon to a home video theater near you. Okay. So 4.5 into 2.25. Gonna give that like a super hard push because it's pretty thick. Burnished. And then thoughts and feelings. Maybe we'll make one paper clip. 3.5 is 1 3/4. Do I have a paper clip on my desk? Probably. And then our big old pocket. It's 4, so we are just gonna score all the way down at 3.5. We're gonna do that on both sides. And then got 8.5 here. If I want it to be a 4.5 tall, or do I want it to be 5.5 tall? 5.5 tall seems good. Alright. Oh, the boat will be upside down if I don't use the other side. Good thing I looked. Oh, and I messed up the paper a little bit here. It's not a big deal. So, what I'm going to do is cut on the inside line. All the way down until I get to the little cross here. And then I'm going to turn my scissors and cut at an angle. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Inside the line, all the way down. Get to the little cross point, turn my scissors, cut at an angle. And then cut at an angle, cut at an angle. I almost got real confident with that corner. Did you see? I almost chopped it right off. So, yeah, so I watched Troy, which was interesting because it made me think about a lot of things. Mainly that before the Odyssey movie came out and they announced who was playing who because they kept it pretty close to their chest, Elliot Page was in the trailer, and a lot of people started floating the theory that Elliot Page was playing Achilles, and people got so butthurt. And by people, I mean mostly men, but I'm not gonna like discount and say women were not also mad. I saw a couple of women with egregiously bad hot takes, and then, you know, like historical people had to come crawling out of the woodwork to remind everybody what Achilles' like actual character is in the story. This needs a swoopity swoop. Do I have my punch? I have my small punch. Where's my big punch? I don't want to do the swoopity swoop by hand. You know, the swooped. Although it is a little longer than I would prefer. So do I just cut it? Do I just cut it? Or do I keep it a tall guy? I should probably cut it. Hold on. Hold on. So yeah, so they all came out to like explain the character of Achilles, which is really interesting because there was a really popular book about the Song of Achilles that kind of also got that point across on, you know, the subject of the character of Achilles. And how he might not be the proto-masculine stereotype that everyone believes. And I think, like, a lot of people... Oh, sorry. I'm apologizing to you guys, but it was more egregious to me. But a lot of people were upset because, like, the person that they were holding up as their, like, example of Achilles was Brad Pitt in this movie, Troy. And, like, I watched it last night, and this is why, like, I was thinking about it, was that he sucks in this movie. He's a piece of shit. And, like, a big point of the movie is that he's so egotistical and arrogant and, like, hot-headed that he sort of manufactures his own downfall by being a colossal dick the entire time. And ooh, I didn't do the swoopies. I'm gonna do a thumb notch, I guess, because I don't want to go look for my punch. And I'm not even gonna be that careful, because this is supposed to be a quick craft. And I'm making it take forever. But yeah, so, like, he's a jerk the entire time. He does a lot of things, and then, like, you're supposed to sympathize with him because he kind of comes back around, and then you're like, oh, he was sort of a soft boy all along. And he's sort of the product of this time, and, like, what's happening, and I don't know, blah, 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 blah. I clearly didn't feel that way. So, you know, I watched it and was just like, what a jerk. But, like, you're meant to kind of see, like, the I don't know, the conflict that the character is going through, and that he has a good heart underneath being a colossal ass the entire time. And I would still argue at the end of the day that his grievances were worse than his minor redemption arc in the story. And in the story, in the movie, they make him fall in love with a woman who is a human slave that he takes. And it's supposed to be like this big romantic thing, but at the end of the day, she is a captured slave in the middle of this war. And they develop a relationship because he treats her with kindness and basic human empathy. And the bar is in hell. Just, like, I can't get past it. But also she's, like, hugely victimized by the Greeks there, and the Greeks in this story, not the Greek people in general. And it's just, I don't know, it's such a weird thing to see, and then have everyone be like, yeah, this is the guy that we're all arguing about and upset that Elliot Page is not, when even by, like, ancient Greek standards, like, Achilles was a hero. He was the ultimate masculine type. He was also in a and they were roommates situation ship with Patroclus, who in the Troy movie is his cousin. So I'm glad they didn't go that route. I don't remember, because it's been a minute since I've read, like, the Iliad and the Odyssey, if Patroclus was his cousin for realsies. But there's a lot in this in the Troy movie that they changed to sort of fit the narrative of the story, and it's, you know, it's watchable. I found myself enjoying parts of it, like, more than others, and other parts I was just like, oh, what a bunch of jerks. You know, I have a hard time consuming media that is, like, super masculine, and yes. This was difficult to watch, because I was like, everything you say makes me so irritated. But, like, the argument that these historians ended up making in response to people being mad that Elliot Page is not Brad Pitt, was that in the story of the Iliad, when Odysseus goes to get Achilles and be like, hey, you gotta join this war because you're our hero, you're our big guy, you're our big gun, and we need you, like, to help us win this battle, otherwise we're gonna lose without you. Achilles doesn't want to go. He's not interested. And he's particularly mercurial in the story, and as well. So I understand why they made him, like, that way in the movie. But to avoid going, he ends up putting on the clothes of a woman and hiding with a bunch of women and pretending to be a woman. And here's the thing, is that in the story, it goes to the extent of telling you that Achilles isn't just like the super ultra Chad hero. He's also so pretty that he fits in with a bunch of women. So it's reasonable to assume that Achilles could be in possession of some feminine qualities if he can blend in with women. And I thought it was interesting, and that this was the defense that they were making, because it has notes of sort of trans erasure that I don't like, that we sort of skedaddle a little too close to, because they're like bringing up someone's former, no, I want to say former, someone's gender that they were assigned to at birth, not the gender that they actually present as or are. And so I was like, oh, I love that we're making this point, because I think it's the only way to get it across to the people who are maddest about this. But at the same time, I hate that this is the narrative that you have to use to sell that Elliot Page could very well be Achilles, because Achilles is so beautiful that they can blend in with women, and also, you know, not just a warrior, but a rainbow warrior as well. And I was like, okay, fine. But at the end of the day, all of this outrage, which I feel like was just one of those internet troll things that they used to like aura farm on the internet, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was just somebody throwing something out there wildly to start a flame war, turned out to be for nothing, because Elliot Page is not playing Achilles. In fact, Achilles isn't even in the damn movie. Because it's the end of the Trojan War. And if you guys are familiar with Achilles in any sort of regard, or at least the term Achilles heel, you'll know that he gets hurt in his heel and he dies. That happens in the Trojan War. So essentially, I guess for a little bit of backstory, if you were not well versed in mythology, is that Achilles' mother is like a type of goddess, a Thetis or Themis. They're very close together. At any rate, she's like one of the ocean naiad goddess type people, and she has her son with a human, so he's like a demigod. And to make him invulnerable to harm, she sort of dips him into like this fiery mixture by the ankle. Oh, is it a fiery mixture? I might be mixing up all my facts right now, because this also happens with Demeter and somebody else. If it's not a fiery mixture, it is like a special water from the underworld. At any rate, she dips him into the thing to make him invulnerable, right? But she has to hold on to her baby by the ankle. So she's like dip dyeing her baby to make him invulnerable. But and he is invulnerable to all harm everywhere except for his ankle, where she was holding him, because the water didn't touch him, or the fire. I don't know. Don't come at me right now. I'm tired, despite having too much coffee. But so he becomes this like great warrior, like lauded by the Greeks. He has all these battles. He never loses. He's such a great fighter, and everything goes great until he goes to the Trojan War, where a lot of shit things happen after he gets found out, and they sort of strong arm him into going to the Trojan War. He brings a special team of like fighters, which are the Myrmidons, and they're also excellent warriors, like some of the top warriors ever, and they follow Achilles. And when they get to the camp of the Greeks and King Agamemnon is there, that's a mouthful, he tells him like, hey, you're gonna marry my daughter, who's a child at this point. And they set up this whole elaborate thing, but they don't tell Achilles what they're doing. He's just like, what the heck? Like, Agamemnon's gonna make me marry his daughter, so that I have to follow him and do all these things that I don't want to do, because I just want to fight and be like a cool guy and maybe kiss my lover. And so, sorry, I'm petting Nico as I'm talking. They set up this whole wedding ceremony, but turns out that this wedding ceremony is false. It was just to lure the girl there so that Agamemnon could sacrifice her to the gods so that they could get a favorable wind and go to Troy. Let me grab a paper clip while we're talking. So that's like his first interaction with the whole Trojan War experience once he gets there. Is watching his supposed future bride get killed. Do I want to do it this way? I don't know. I mean, I could do it the other way. And then just glue a piece of paper in here. That's also possible. I have scraps right here. Acting like it's like a big deal. It's not. So, once he gets there, they're like, Achilles, please save us. You're so cool and like handsome, and we would love it if you did cool things for us. And so he does some fighting, and then he's like, you know what? I don't even fucking want to do it. I hate this. This is boring. There's no sport in this. There's no glory. You guys are pissing me off. Is this what I want to do? Why am I like? I feel like I'm brand new to making journals now. And journal stuff, because I keep like messing up stuff that I know how to make. And so now I'm like afraid to make it because I'm like, ooh, what if you fuck it up again? So while he's like sitting it out and he's like, I don't want to go, and then they're trying to like beg him to get back out there into the game and the battlefield and save their asses, because they're getting absolutely schooled by the Trojans at this point. The Trojans have Hector? Oh, I'm bad with names, so this is going to get crazier as we go on. The Trojans have Hector, I believe, who is a prince of Troy, who is, like, also a very fantastic warrior. He's also a very cool guy, and so, like, a lot of people look up to him. He's keeping the Trojans motivated. He's a good prince. Like, all these things. People love Hector. And Hector's out there absolutely beating the dog crap out of, the Greeks, and so they're like, please, Achilles, go back out there and fight this guy. And Achilles is like, no, I don't really feel like it. I'm over it. This is boring. We've been here forever. Because the Trojan War goes on for like 10 years, you guys. And so Achilles is like, nah, it's not for me, bruv. And so, paperclip. So Patroclus is like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on Achilles' armor. I'm going to ride out there and then inspire the troops to, like, get their shit together. And this works. You know, it rouses the Greeks. They go into battle. They do all the, like, engagement stuff. Maybe that's what we'll do. Do a little stenciling, maybe. Mayhaps. But what happens is Patroclus meets Hector out there in the battlefield, and he ends up getting killed. And this upsets Achilles a lot because they weren't just like friends. That's his lover, right? So he gets really pissed off. He gets like, you know, I'm gonna go back to battle. He gets back out there, and he ends up killing Hector in a 1v1 fight. And because he's so mad that Patroclus got killed, he decides that he is going to take Hector's body, drag it behind his horse, and sort of parade it around in front of the Greeks and be like, here's your super cool guy, I kicked his ass. It has the unfortunate side effect of pissing everybody off, because the Greeks found it distasteful. It's just not how you treat people's bodies. You know, of course the Trojans are like, that's our prince, you colossal dickhead. So, you know, there's a lot to say about Achilles and the story and the things that happened. Some of this happened in the movie, some of it didn't. But at the end of it, he ends up getting taken out, because of course he does. He had it coming. It was definitely coming. Which one? This one? Or this one? Maybe the round one for some movement. I love these stencils, you guys. They're like my favorite right now. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. So, eventually, I have other brushes. I don't know, I'm acting like I only have one. Eventually, you know, after being bereft over the loss of his lover and being put in this sham marriage that was used to sacrifice a child, he's having a rough time of it. And there's some stuff that happens with Briseis, but it's not really like what the movie pictures it as like their beautiful, impossible love story, their romance. They weren't really in love. They may have smashed. Achilles might be a bisexual. And I love that for him. But eventually he gets shot. He takes an arrow to the ankle, and the greatest warrior of all time gets taken out, and he is killed and dies. And that's the end of his story. So of course he's not in the Odyssey, but just sort of the conceit that this person, this mythological figure, could not possibly be played by a transgender person is absolutely absurd to me. Elliot Page could have made an absolutely fantastic Achilles. They're a great actor. But, like, I don't know, the outrage was absolutely uncalled for. And then turned out to be for nothing, because it wasn't even a thing. You know, like, he wasn't even Achilles. he was just a whole different side character with a whole different side story that really, I don't know if it added to the story, but it was there. You know what? I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna add the rest of these stencils to the book page itself. So, all that being said, was I thought about it the entire time I watched the movie, because there were two controversies that popped up with this movie. First, that Elliot Page could possibly, maybe, sort of, kind of be Achilles, and then the other thing was that Lupita Nyong'o could not possibly be Helen of Troy, because Helen of Troy has the face that launches 1,000 ships, and a bunch of people showed their asses by being like, she's not pretty enough to be Helen of Troy, which I was like, say the most absurd sentence you've ever said in your entire life, and it still won't sound as ridiculous as what was just said here. Because Lupita Nyong'o is stunning. You know, so I was like, how are you guys all gonna come out as racist at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, it was very interesting. Like, if it wasn't one prejudice, it was the other. You know, so I was like, what is this movie? And as a person who's, like, not a big fan of Christopher Nolan films in general, this is the stuff that I found to be most egregious and telling, because I was like, see, it's stuff like this that makes it really clear why I don't like these movies, because this is the dialogue and the discourse that got brought up around it. And a lot of people felt really comfortable coming out of the woodworks to give their bad faith arguments and reviews before the movie even came out, which is also, like, a huge pet peeve, right? Because, like, you haven't even seen it yet, and you hate it so much. Also, just gonna say, having watched it now, I feel the same way I always do when I watch a Christopher Nolan film, minus The Dark Knight Rises, I think. The second Batman film that he did with Heath Ledger, because Heath Ledger carried that entire film. He was a sweet baby angel whom I was obsessed with before, so I was obsessed with throughout that movie, so he carried that entire film for me, not Christopher Nolan's directing. I hate his directing. Because I feel like, here's the thing, let me back up a little bit before I get into the rest of my argument. I feel like, I forgot this has a back. Christopher Nolan is visually a very good director. I think he has a great eye for, like, shots and scenery and sets and design, sound design. He's really innovative with his process, but I chiefly don't like his movies because they're really popular with guys, which I know is a thing, but go with me on this for a second, okay? They're super popular with guys in the way that, like, if you tell a guy that you thought one of Christopher Nolan's movies were just okay, they will then spend an inordinate amount of time telling you that you didn't understand the film and he's a visionary. And those kind of movies I can't stand. You know, those are the films I don't like, because I don't like being mansplained movies. I understand movies just fine. And most of the time what the argument is like, you just didn't understand the themes of the thing. And I'm like, you know what, I understand the theme of the thing, because Christopher Nolan does this thing in his movies where he hits you over the head a bajillion times with the theme of the film by making it like the dialogue the characters say at some point. And like, no, I got it. I understood the theme. They told me 11 million times what the theme was, so I understand. You know? So, like, that's chiefly the reason I don't like these films, because I don't like being told by the movie or by men about the themes of the film. I get it. I have a brain. In fact, I have an ADHD brain, which means that pattern recognition is right up my alley. It is all I live for. I ruin movies with pattern recognition all the time. So, I am well versed in picking out the themes of a film, especially when they're repeated over and over and over and over again. Like, I got it. So, there's that. So, like, that's kind of how I feel about watching, like, the Odyssey. I watched the whole thing and then was like, okay. Visually, beautiful movie. Really impressed with the cinematography. Really impressed with, like, the scale of it. I do feel like we went on this, like, epic journey. I found the scale to be very impressive. I found the movie to be okay. Like, I wouldn't watch it again. It was alright. And I don't even think I would recommend it to anybody, which is kind of like a thing. And a lot of that, I will say, comes from the fact that I already have this preconceived bias. So, like, take it as you will. If you like Christopher Nolan movies, I don't have any, like, strong feelings against you or anything like that. So don't feel like you can't tell me, like, oh man, that's my favorite movie. That's great. I'm glad that you enjoy it. It probably means that a man has never tried to explain to you at length why you don't understand the film. Because you said you didn't like it or you liked it. But, like, I don't even know what I was going to say. I just totally lost that train of thought. Let me think. What was I saying? The words. I said that, visually very good. On the scale very good. Oh, I have the bias already going in. So, like, I understand that, like, at the end of this movie was not going to be for me because I was already set up to not like it by having this existing bias. I was hoping I'd find something in there to enjoy because I really enjoy, like, classic mythology. I really enjoy these stories, and I would really like to see these stories get, like, a modern update. I feel like, you know, every couple decades we do a run through of the classics, and I would just love to see, like, a proper modern, like, take on these things. But the way that they chose to go about it for this movie, I just can't stand. Like, we have all this connectivity, the internet, all this opportunity. There are people who are actually, like, experts in the fields for stuff, and it just feels like, you know, he had an idea, he wanted to go do it, so he did it, which is, again, fine. But on top of it, I feel like the lesser for it. You know, like, I feel like we got cheated out of what we could have had, which was a really great fantasy epic that covered a myth in general. I also feel like Christopher Nolan is directly responsible for all of the dark and gritty superhero movies that we got in the, like, early 2000s, like 2000s, 2010s, that really dragged down the genre to the point where, like, now we're, like, starting to add color and life back into movies about superheroes and being like, hey, they can actually be whimsical and that's okay. We're just starting to do that again, and I feel like because it was such a trend, there's a lot of different reasons that happened. I'm not saying it's entirely his fault, but I do feel like he was like a big part of that and why it became such a trend in Hollywood and such a standard for such a long time that it took a really hard time, like it took a really long time to break away from. Okay, I just want to put the other way, right? Because otherwise all that stamping was for nothing. So, oh, this one goes to the trash. The other thing that, like, I think sort of worked against this movie's favor, oh, we'll just use the messy side, so to speak, was that, because I'm such a fan of Greek mythology and the classical stories and stuff, I have a lot of knowledge in this department, and I was like, well, why couldn't we use Greek people to tell Greek stories? Or, like, people that would have been around in the region. Greek was not a monolithic culture. It definitely had cultural diversity. A lot of people were complaining because Lupita Nyong'o is an African woman. And they were like, yeah, but she's Greek. But, like, Matt Damon. Matthew Damon. Like, I'm his mother. But Matt Damon is not Greek. And yet, somehow, that wasn't a complaint. The complaint was that she was black, and they just could not conceive that there were black people in Greece. And I hate to break it to people, but black people were everywhere. And have always been everywhere. Sorry. I know it's wildly inconvenient. Especially to certain people's narratives, but it is the case. We were there. So there, you know, there was a chance to have a like ethnically diverse movie that they didn't do because they used a bunch of the regular Hollywood A-list actors who honestly didn't have shit to do. Which is the other complaint that I had going into this, is that you got all these big names to draw in the box office, and they didn't have shit to do in this movie. It could have been anybody in this movie, and it wouldn't have made a difference. So, like, I feel like he took a big fantasy epic, he grounded it in reality, he took all the fantasy stuff, like the monsters and the gods and goddesses, and really just whittled them down to bare bones, and then was like, enjoy the movie. And I was like, no, I cannot. I hate this. This is actually a pretty good piece for this. And then, like, desaturated it, which also just drove me insane. The movie was all basically two colors, and they were beige and gray, beige and grayish. That was the movie. In fact, the only time I was like, ooh, wow, watching it was when they shot the sea, because you can't really turn the sea beige. I mean, you could, but, like, you really have to work at it, you know what I mean? But everything else was gray. All the monsters were gray. And so I was like, well, what's the point? And then, like, the cool monsters they could have used, they just made regular people. It made me so upset. You know, the sirens are supposed to be, like, women heads. Women heads, women chest, bird body. That's a siren in Greek mythology. And they didn't even use mermaids. They just made them women on rocks. And, yeah, that made me mad. Made me irrationally angry. Kind of, yeah. So, like, yeah. I was like, you couldn't even do those right. The Cyclops was gray. And then they were like, oh, he's also intelligent. And I'm not going to spoil the movie, guys. I'm not. But, because he can speak, but they don't reveal that until the end, and then it never gets used, even though it's like a big point of the story in the Odyssey. Like, Odysseus talks to the Cyclops. It's a big thing. There's a whole thing about how he avoids getting eaten by talking to the Cyclops. But they were like, no, don't do that in this movie, because that would just be, like, straightforward, easy, too whimsical. If he were to speak to him, like, I don't know, it would just, oh. And then, they get to the point where they're going up against like Scylla and Charybdis, and Charybdis is the whirlpool, like a, yeah, it's like a whirlpool. That's what they're called. And in mythology, there's a woman in there. There's a woman in there who has been cursed to suck up everything in the ocean. So her mouth is like super stretched out wide. It's her teeth on the sides that look like jagged rocks, but it's her teeth. And then like you get sucked into this whirlpool in a boat, and like it's a lady chomping down on you in there. No lady, just a regular ass whirlpool. And then Scylla is also a lady. This is becoming very feminist the more it goes on, and that is my chief complaint. But it's got Scylla, who is a lady who has a like waist of 6 dog heads, and she's got like serpentine, like serpent heads that reach down and snatch people up from the from their boats. She got 6 heads, but she's also been cursed to do this. Essentially, it's a gross thumb monster. I don't even know how to describe it to you guys. It's a gray thumb monster. That's what it looked like. And like in the few moments you get to see the monster, you're like, huh? Because it doesn't make sense what you're looking at, and it just looks like a bunch of thumbs like jointed together, like thumbs are like coming down, and then they pick it up and they disappear into a cave, and I'm like, that's not a lady either. And as you guys know, I support women's rights and wrongs, especially when they're monsters, and I just don't like monster erasure. You know, like, what's the point in designing cool monsters if someone's gonna adapt your story and be like, yeah, so the monster is just like thumbs. It's just thumbs. Like, what the hell? What did Homer even write it for? You know what I mean? Like, what was it for? But on top of that, like, you know, the gray washing, the fantasy washing of it all, was just sort of like, because we didn't use Greek actors, we sort of went for a colorblind casting, which is cool. You know, I don't mind a colorblind casting, honestly, but I would have preferred to see like a Greek actor in the role, at least as a Odysseus, you know, and maybe as like the key players could have been Greek, and then everybody else could have been in the colorblind casting. In addition to that, you know, everything's gray looking. There's thumbs for monsters. She like is insulting that I'm supposed to be afraid of fucking thumbs. And then there's women in this movie. You wouldn't really notice because they don't really add that much to the story outside of Anne Hathaway, who I've already seen people like floating around things like this is an Oscar-worthy performance, and I'm like, everyone needs to have a seat. Just everybody sit down. It was a performance. It was the level of performance I have come to expect from Anne Hathaway. She does a great job. She's the only lady allowed to act in the movie. Like I said, Lupita Nyong'o is there, and they don't give her shit to do, you guys. She gets a brief moment. Honestly, the person who gets the most to do, and I just forgot her name, which is irritating because I love her a lot in a lot of the things that she's in, is the woman who plays Cersei. I can't even think of what she's been in. She was in the Dune prequel, but that's not like her most favorite role. It's something Morris. At any rate, she was really cool. In fact, I really liked her scene and was like, this is what I would like more of. In fact, you could give me lots more of that. But even that like scene isn't like, I don't know. There's a whole thing, because Odysseus' whole shtick is that he is not like a powerful warlord like the other kings of Greece. He's not a great warrior by any means. Like, he's competent. He's a good warrior. But he's not the greatest warrior, right? I kind of like this one. Oh, this is a good one. His whole thing, though, is that he's very clever. He's a smart guy. He has a big brain, which is like what the Greeks valued at this time when the Odyssey was being written. was using your brain and not brawn to like win these sort of things and outwit creatures and gods and stuff like that. So that's why Odysseus is such a big hero in this story, and like why he's the focal point and stuff like that. It's because he's a smart guy, and the story keeps telling me he's a smart guy. In fact, it tells me he's a smart guy a lot. But there's only a couple of moments where they use his brain, and the rest of it they use his muscles. And that's irritating because in the story it tells you how he uses his brain. So you didn't have to use your brain to think of how he used his brain. The story tells you how he solves a lot of problems with his brain. But like in the regards to the film, a lot of the scenes are just him sort of saying stuff like it's matter of fact and not like he's super clever. Just like, yeah, this is the thing we're gonna do. Yeah, this is how this goes. Yeah, this is something or other. And you're just like, was that him being clever? Was that what I was supposed to like glean from this moment? Was like, oh look, Odysseus is so cool and crazy, sexy, handsome because he just said something like normal. Even like the way that they talk about the Trojan horse and how that came about, they're like, oh yeah, it was Odysseus's idea, but they don't have him like explain it. They just tell us. And I know like him winning the Trojan War is not the focal point of the Odyssey. It's not, because the focal point of the Odyssey is his journey home. But like it comes down to movies being a visual medium, and then you're telling me everything, you're not showing me, and then I am not convinced that he's a smart guy no matter how much you tell me, because you've just been telling me, you haven't been showing me. So yeah, I don't know, like as a person who really enjoys the mythology, I found it hard to watch because I was like the entire time, and I already kind of knew it was going to be that way. You know, there's a lot of historical inaccuracies too, and stuff that like would have been really cool to see on the big screen in this capacity, and I feel like it just got left off. Like I feel like Christopher Nolan is a very thorough director, so I'm sure that people told him like what was traditional at this time and like what the Greeks and the Trojans would have wore, and he was like, yeah, but that's not cool though, I want them to look cool. So you know, they're wearing stuff that's like modern armor, there's Roman stuff in there, there's Celtic stuff in there, in their clothing and their armor, and you're like, there's some Viking touches in there. In fact, I watched a girl on Instagram do a whole breakdown. She's like a historical costume person, and she did a whole breakdown on the costumes, which I thought was fascinating. And she's like, here's what they would have actually wore, and here's what they're wearing, and here's where this comes from. And I just, you know, I find that kind of stuff to be really interesting in general. So I was really fascinated by it, but like we could have had so much color and so much like interesting design, and there was just an opportunity to do something really cool that didn't get done in favor of this sort of outdated, like, I don't know, proto-macho bullshit. And I think it's really interesting because it's the kind of thing that like if you explained it to like one of these sort of red-pilled ultra macho guys, and we're like, hey, this is the thing, this is what we're gonna do, they'd be like, no, that's so like awful and I hate it, and a woman was clearly involved, and I'm gonna be super sexist about it and probably racist at the end of the day. And like, you know, you would tell them that and they'd be like, it's awful, but like it's one of those things that like once you saw it, you'd be like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool, I actually really like that, or like I really like the way that looked. And then like it's also something that I think would be probably more appealing to like the feminine gaze at the end of the day too, where like women would be like, oh yeah, I really liked, you know, the costume designs here, because who's not gonna love seeing a bunch of like big muscular dudes in like short tunics with all the legs, thighs for days. And yes, I do believe that men should be just as objectified as women are. So yeah, we were robbed. And you know, I just like one of those things where I was like, ugh. So we could have watched all this and had like himbos out here doing himbo things and really enjoyed the film for its visual enhancements, but we can't because we have to make it look like super tough and macho and dark and gritty and all these things. But like, I would like to also point out that we all sat through the 300 where they fought in their underwear, basically in leather underwear, and nobody was complaining about it not being the most macho thing that they saw. So you know, there is that as well. But I feel like if you tell versus you do, you know, you'll get different responses. But I would just like to point out that we watched a bunch of guys fight in their underwear, and it was arguably the most masculine thing I've ever seen. Because it was very macho. But I don't know, I said I wasn't going to talk about the Odyssey, and I was just going to talk about Troy, but then I ended up talking about both. So here we are, because I had a lot of feelings, and I just sort of left that being like, man, I wish we had, like, the opportunity to have whimsical storytelling and let fantasy be fantasy, because I feel like you could have done this story about anything else, and we would have, it wouldn't have been a complaint. You know, I wouldn't have been like, oh, they're not following the story, or they're not being historically accurate, or, you know, like, all of my complaints would have just gone by the wayside, because I would have been like, yeah, it's not the story. You know, it's just an epic fantasy adventure about a guy trying to get home. And even if they were, like, using some of the same beats and just being like, it's loosely inspired by, but is not the Odyssey, I'd be like, okay, yeah, fine. I'm not, you know, a total jerk. A little jerk, but not a total jerk. I can accept that it's inspired by, but not directly, whatever. And it does say at the beginning of the film it's inspired by Homer's The Odyssey, but, like, you know what I mean? It's very clearly a retelling of The Odyssey, with a particular lens. And I do think the theme of the movie I thought was really interesting, although I did predict the little twist at the end. That's on pattern recognition, although I don't think it was that hard to figure out, because I don't think Christopher Nolan is as complex as everybody keeps telling me that he is. I think he's a very straightforward director, despite being interested in themes. Oh, I didn't save any for this. I felt like I was really going through it a little bit too breezily, you know what I mean? What did I do? I did this first. I'll just do a little spot. And then this one's almost done. That's a wreck. So I don't know, like, I think the sticking power of this movie is not there. Because, like I said, I don't think I would recommend this to anybody. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. I don't think I'd watch it again. You know, if it, like, was something I saw on streaming, I wouldn't be like, ooh, it's the Odyssey, I'm gonna watch it. It wouldn't happen. I can tell you right now, it would not happen. I'd go back and watch all of Futurama again before I was like, yeah, I should turn on the Odyssey. Yep. Oh, I put this away like I wasn't using it as my glue paper. You know, so I don't know. I just kind of want movies to be fantastical, and I guess I can accept that this is Christopher Nolan's vision. This is how he made the movie. It's not the movie for me, and that's okay. I'm not going to be mad at him for not making the movie that I want, you know, like I wanted at the end of the day. I'm not entitled to that movie. We're not entitled to make Christopher Nolan make the movie that I want to see, but I want this movie. You know, like I want it. And I want to be able to do this stuff, and it makes me concerned because when, you know, they last took a crack at this particular genre, it was during the height of this 2000s ultra gritty realistic stuff. And granted, Clash of the Titans was a bit more fantastical than what we got in the Odyssey. I will definitely say that. They definitely leaned into the fantasy elements, but it was just dark and gritty and not fun. Some stuff was fun, but Medusa was fun. But it wasn't fun. And I think the other, like, thing that, like, I feel about this particular movie is that the women had nothing to do. Like, and granted, this is a story about a guy, so the women aren't a big part of it. But even, like, you know, they had Charlize Theron in there, and it could have been anybody else, because it didn't matter. She had such a nothing burger of a role, like, nothing to do except to, like, talk at a man, the entire time, and just be like, yeah, so tell me how you feel about that. Tell me how you feel about that. Like, just doing the therapy for this man. And I was like, ugh. And again, you guys are telling me about their interaction and not showing it to me. And I think that's like, yeah, that's like my biggest takeaway, is that most of this movie was told to me, not shown to me. But they were showing me things. It just wasn't, you know, like the things that they kept saying. And I don't know if that's like on how movies are being structured now, because they're dealing with the media literacy thing, so you have to sort of tell the audience what's happening, or they're like, huh, who's that, how did we get here, because they weren't paying attention when they were watching, or what. I don't know. I want more, and I want more movies in this genre, but not this style, obviously, because I hated this style. But you know, I want to see some more stories. I would love to see like a movie about Bellerophon. His story is very interesting. Maybe I'll do a story craft on that one day and do more research before I start trying to tell you guys the story. Oh, I forgot. I need to get these stickers on here, and then we're done. Probably will come back and do a little embossing on top. But that's what I'm thinking. I don't trust these Sticky Club stickers to be particularly sticky. Not the plain white paper ones like this. Like the translucent, like, clear stickers stick great. They stick fantastic. Paperclip goes dish away. Do I have a long guy? Oh, I do. It's Mr. Owl. You know, I'd like to see more stuff. And I wouldn't just like to see just, like, Greek mythology picked up. I'd like us to see, like, a run of mythology from around the world. The world. I would love to see that. I'd love to see a bunch of, like, big, epic movies covering the mythology. I'd love to see, like, another crack at Sun Wukong, which is the Monkey King. Because I love, I love that guy. And I always watch all the movies that come out. Yes. No. This way? No. This way. Yes. You know, I'd love to see some stuff from, like, Peru, or some, like, Aztec gods, their stories. I would love to see more stuff like that. I feel like, because people are sort of hitting that point where, like, nostalgia core is not the thing anymore. It's not doing it for people anymore. I'll do the fronts first and then come back and do the backs. You know, like, people just aren't getting what they used to out of nostalgia bait anymore. And all these, like, sequels and prequels and remakes and stuff like that, people are getting really burnt out on it. And so I think that this is a really great opportunity for Hollywood to start digging up some of these culturally relevant mythological tales. And sorry, trying to give myself enough space to be in frame, but we'll do this one tall. We'll make this a tall guy, so that you guys can see while also decorating. But, like, I think this is a great, like, untapped wellspring that they could start dipping into that would be able to bait in the nostalgia of, like, culturally relevant stories where people want to come see, like, how their cultural tales are being told, while also starting with some fresher material, some fresher stuff that would appeal to audiences who are looking for new things. But I don't know. I don't know how I would rate the Odyssey. If I had to rate Troy, I think I would give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It's watchable. I could definitely see myself watching it again. I found, like I said, moments of the movie where I was like, oh, I like this and stuff like that. The fact that Achilles was an asshole the entire movie did not throw me in any regard. I was like, okay, that's just how he is. In fact, I really like Eric Bana in the movie. It's got a little babyface Orlando Bloom in there, fresh off of Lord of the Rings. So, of course, they had him use a bow and arrow. But yeah, I found it to be ridiculously rewatchable, and at some points, very interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we got space to work with. I don't think I'm gonna put anything on the back of this because it's a pocket, and I might want to just glue it in that way. But these, we're gonna do the inside here. Or I'm gonna leave the paper clip like this into the back. I know I said I wasn't going to. I don't know what I'm gonna do before I do it, guys. I just do things. But no, for the Odyssey, I don't know, I feel differently because I wouldn't rewatch it. You know what I mean? Like, if I was gonna rewatch it, do I like this one? Like, if I felt like it had rewatch value, then I would probably give it a better rating. But if you were like twisting my arm and being like, rate it, Priscilla, tell us what you think, I think I'd give it like a 4.5. I just didn't enjoy it the way that I think I could have. Especially if they had given the women something to do, that would have been great. If they had let the monsters be monsters, also would have been cool. I don't know. Yeah, I think 4.5 is what I'm gonna give it. It's usually how I rate things on a scale of would I do this again kind of thing. I get like a snack box every month that I share with one of my coworkers. We make like a whole lunch hour of it where we just sit down and try these things. They're snacks from around the world. It's actually really fun. This was sort of a throwaway idea that I had just sort of tossed out there where I was like, oh man, I always wanted to get one of these like snack boxes where you try like a snack from a different country. And she was like, oh yeah, we should. And I was like, oh, you wanna? And she was like, yeah. And then that was it. We were like, we're locked in, we're doing it, this is our life now. And we've been doing it every month since January and having very surprising results. So far, Germany has been our favorite box, with Japan coming in second. And surprisingly, our least favorite box was Greece, which is so funny. I feel like they did us dirty with the Greece ones, though, like, to be fair. Because, yeah, they just weren't good. And then our second least favorite, which was very surprising to both of us, because we're big fans of the food in general, was Korea. And which I also feel like they did us dirty in the selection of snacks in that one. But on our rating system, we rate everyone from like 1 to 10, and then I like to crunch numbers, so I like to come up with an average rating for every box and stuff like that. But the criteria that I have set is that if I would buy it again, it's like higher than a 6. Like 6 and above is something I would buy and like go for again. If I would not buy it again, then I give it a like 5 and below. Where's my guy? Oh, here's my guy. So that's how I usually rate things. So I think, like, I feel the same way about movies. Like, if I would watch it again, it'd be like a 6 or a higher. If I wouldn't watch it again, then it's down. It's all the way down there. I think we're just gonna go hog wild with some stamping to sort of bring it all together. And then we'll be done with, like, this little set of easy book page ephemera. That's cute. We'll do it on the pocket too. That you could make along with me while I ranted about a movie and all of my likes and dislikes and how I think people are showing their ass as colossal racist and bigots in the way that they interact with these films. Because, like, honestly, and this is just sort of like discourse that I see more and more, especially on Twitter, but in, like, online spaces, is people just sort of deciding how they feel about the movie entirely before they even watch it. You know, like, they've determined if it's a good movie or a bad movie, and they are the definitive authority on such things, and are going to tell you about yourself if you're, like, in the, like, contrary. If you're like, no, actually, I think whatever, they're going to be like, no, you're stupid and all your opinions are wrong. Like, there's a lot of that happening online right now in a way that's sort of baffling. Am I in frame? I don't know. I feel like I'm gradually migrating out of frame. Like, it's just really, really baffling to me because, like, you haven't seen it. You know, like, people are commenting on, like, the trailers, like, especially for the Odyssey, there's been a lot of this conversation. And, you know, people are commenting on the trailer, and they're like, oh, that looks really good, I can't wait to watch it. And then people are like, no, it's going to be awful, it's stupid, because they made Helen a black woman, and therefore the movie is bad, and you're stupid for liking it, and I already can tell you that this is going to be the worst movie of all time. And then you're like, how do you know with such, like, certainty if the movie isn't even out yet? Like, how are you so certain that this is the worst movie of all time? And then when you, like, kind of point that out, they're like, I just know because I have lots of experience watching movies. And it's like, hey, pal, me too. In fact, I feel like, arguably, everyone here has a lot of experience watching movies. It's kind of the way that we do modern storytelling. You know? Like, kind of how the bread is made. Because we're all watching movies, you dinghole. Like, what do you mean, like, you're so one up on everybody else because you've been watching movies your whole, like, everybody else. You know, and I don't understand it. And I don't understand the need to tell people stuff is, that, like, they're excited for or whatever is bad or wrong because you feel like it. Because I think that's the thing that, like, really throws me off with this kind of stuff, is that, you know, they're just so determined that their opinion is the only opinion on things. Hold on. So I read a whole thread on a YouTube short. It was like 30 comments long, where there was a clip from a movie, and people were like, oh, this movie sucked. I'm not even going to tell you what movie it was, because it doesn't even matter. But in the comments, somebody was like, oh, I kind of liked that movie. You know, I think it wasn't that bad. And this guy proceeds to, like, get into this whole entire argument in this person's comment, like, creating this entire thread to be like, you're wrong, actually, because this movie was trash and it's just offensive to the idea of movies in general. And, like, you should be basically ashamed of yourself for liking this movie in the first place. And so this person's, like, defending their position, which I feel like they shouldn't have to, in the comment that they just made, like, this innocent little comment, and now they're in the fight for their life in the comment section. And when they get to the bottom of this thread where this person has gone rounds and rounds and rounds with this person, and they're like, oh, well, can you tell me, like, specifically what you don't like about it? Like, what's going on? The person then, the guy who started this entire fight is like, oh, I've never seen the movie. So, like, sir, you spent time and energy out of your day telling this person why they were wrong, also that you could be like, no, I've never even seen the thing that I am arguing with you about. Trying to just get just the numbers in there. And I was like, I can't even, like, it wasn't even my comment, you know, like, it wasn't my interaction on this thing at all, but this thing sent me to the moon. I was like, absolutely just to the heavens. Like, I could not believe it. I couldn't fathom it. I think we're ready to flip. I can't even imagine expending that much energy to tell someone that their opinion is wrong. Like, that they are not allowed to like the movie that they like because I think it's a bad movie with no context because I've never seen the film. You know, like, that's how I know people have lost the plot entirely on just, like, how to engage and interact with each other in a, like, civil manner. I know I didn't turn the tag over yet, guys. I saw. Because, like, who does this? Who does that? I need to, like, clear my desk. I think I'm getting stressed by how tightly I've sort of crafted myself into a space. But, like, you know, who spends all that time and energy to be like, oh yeah, by the way, I didn't even watch it. It was crazy to me. And then I felt so bad for the person, because, you know, this person's here, like, fighting for their life, and being like, I just like the movie, like, I just want to like the things I like, why does it matter so much to you? And then they're like, no, you're wrong, and you're stupid, and they're flaming this person, all to find out that, this person has no context for their hatred. They just decided they didn't like the movie, and then took offense to the idea that other people might. And, like, you guys, I saw the movie, and you know what? I liked it. Not because I thought it was good. I definitely didn't think it was a good movie, but I did think it was enjoyable for what it was. I was like, okay, I liked it. Some cool stuff happened. Do I think it could have been better? Yes. Do I wish certain things had been done differently? Also, yes. Did that deter the momentary enjoyment I had while watching it? No. Will I watch it again? Probably. And in fact, I have since it came out, so it got more than a 6. Don't want to use that. Let's do this one with the world on it. You know, so, like, I definitely wouldn't go to, like, bat for this movie and be like, it was a good movie, I swear. Like, no, it wasn't good. But was it enjoyable? Yes. Yes, it was. So much so that I would watch it again, and have. So, you know, there's something there to this film. But, like, even in that note, knowing that I'm like, okay, it wasn't, like, a good movie, but I was able to enjoy it for what it was. What does it say? Oh, it's, like, another language. That's why I'm, like, not comprehending the words. But, like, I've seen the film, and I still would not go this many rounds, or any rounds, with a person in comments to be like, hey, the fact that you like this movie, you're dumb. You know, like, I don't care. You could tell me that your favorite movie is the lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes movie of all time, and I'd be like, I love that for you. I didn't like it, but I love that for you, that you're able to enjoy this as much as you do. You know, like, it doesn't take away anything from me. It doesn't even bother me that, like, someone likes something I don't like. Sometimes I'm like, what? Huh? You like that? I can't believe it. But, like, you know, not like in the serious, like, you need to change the entirety of your like life to accommodate my thoughts and preferences on a film. Ooh, I like that. That's a cool stamp. We're gonna use it again. We want a circly ones. Did I use this one? It's Barcelona. I'm really gonna go look. It doesn't matter. You know, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just so weird to me that people are acting like this or interacting with each other like this over things they haven't even seen. You have no context. And yet your opinion is supposed to be the one that, like, we take as the gospel. It's supposed to be the one that we're all listening to and abiding by. And if we don't, there's something, like, inherently wrong with us for not having the same opinion. Which sort of strikes me as more wrong in the long run. I think that's good. I think we stamp the shit out of these. And I think, like, what this does is make the stickers and everything sort of become part of the background. So it becomes a more cohesive thing. Oh, I got a bug bite. How? Oh my gosh. On that note, that's gonna be it, guys. I'll do a little close-up thing with my grungy fingers, and then we will call it a day. Okay. Look at that. That's so cool. And that's just book page, cardstock, and some stickers. Oh, and a little bit of craft paper to make into collageable paper. I really like how these came out. They're really fun. And they'll make cool inserts. And they're sort of like nature themed with their bird editions. You know, but like they're generic enough that I could come back and add something. I think, like, they would really benefit from, like, a pop of green if I wanted to add them. And stop scratching the bug bite. To a... What am I trying to say? If I wanted to add them to, like, a nature journal that was more, like, greenery nature, I could come back and add green. That's probably what I would do, is add some leaves to it. And then put it in something. But if I didn't want to, they're very neutral. So, like, they'll go in most anything. And they'll fit in most anything. Particularly something nature themed, because they are nature themed. But they're also, like, postal themed and, in a way, boat themed. So they could also go into, like, a travel thing. I think that would also work really well. But, I think that's pretty good. We got a couple of cards. A couple of little journaling cards. A paper clip. And some things. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. I know it was a wildly all over the place chatty thing. I tried to sort of get across my ideas as much as possible. I find it very difficult to talk and craft like this at the same time. I would have much preferred to do this in voiceover mode, but didn't. So, because I thought it would be nice to just sort of hang out and have a crafty chat with me sort of thing with you guys. It's been a minute since I've done one of these long form guys here on the channel. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate your faces. And you tell me, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie that's not super popular? That's what I want to know. Like, your unpopular opinion favorite movie. What would mine be? Let me think. Okay, so I had to think. It took me longer than I thought it would. Because my favorite movie, if you asked me directly, I would say is The Matrix, which is arguably a very, very popular movie. But then my other favorite movie would be The Labyrinth, which was a box office failure. but a cult classic. And then it sort of occurred to me that most of my, like, hear me out, unpopular opinion movies are also cult classics, like Crybaby. And what's another one? Little Shop of Horrors. Those types of movies are usually some of my favorites. And I can't think of anything that's like objectively bad, but it's good and I watch it anyways off the top of my head, and I don't want to stand here thinking about it for very much longer. So I'm gonna say Labyrinth, even though I know that's sort of a easy cop out. But I will say, as a person who is very into movies and film, I recognize that it is not a very good movie, even though it is my favorite movie. It definitely has some issues in story and plot, but it is one of my favorite movies, and it is a cult classic. So, arguably, not the greatest movie. That is pretty great to me. So that's what I'm gonna say for right now. And if I think of something else, I will bring it up in the comments down below. Yeah, I think that's what I got for this one. So yeah, I appreciate your faces, guys. I'm not going to spend all my time thinking about it, although I am currently thinking about it really hard. Oh, you know what? I know. Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. Yes. That movie is camp, and I love it because it's camp. It's not good, but it's camp. But also, I really like the werewolf design in that movie. And there's some good acting, but also some very, very bad acting in that movie. So yeah, Van Helsing would be another one that I also really enjoy. And it's not super popular. So yeah, I can't wait to hear you guys' answers in the comments below. Again, I appreciate your faces. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I craft and think and try my best to put words together. If I said something incorrectly, don't come at me. Just tell me and I'll clarify, because, like I said, I find it very difficult to put my thoughts together and craft at the same time. So I try to be conscious and eloquent when I am speaking, but it's hard when you have spicy brain and you're trying to do another thing at the same time. So hopefully everything came across correctly. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go have something cold to drink because the coffee is hot and it's hot outside and I'm hot. So I appreciate your faces, guys. Happy crafting and goodbye.